In the depths of Cheyenne Mountain, a secret hummed beneath layers of concrete and advanced security protocols. Dr. Jun Park stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the gleaming prototype that would change everything humanity understood about space exploration and technological potential. The X-Sentinel wasn't just another spacecraft. It represented years of hidden research, compressed into a sleek design that looked deceptively simple. Its metallic surface seemed to absorb light, creating an almost impossible silhouette that defied traditional engineering principles. Surrounding the craft, holographic displays flickered with complex mathematical equations and quantum calculations that would make most scientists' minds spin. Hannah Kim, the lead AI specialist, tapped her fingers against a transparent interface. Each touch sent ripples of data across the screens, revealing intricate network connections that seemed to breathe with an almost living intelligence. She understood something fundamental about this project that most military strategists missed. This wasn't just a machine, but a potential revolution in technological thinking. "The quantum adaptive matrix is stabilizing," Hannah muttered, her voice calm but filled with an underlying excitement. Her fingers danced across complex algorithms that seemed to predict potential scenarios faster than any known computational system. June watched the prototype, remembering the countless nights of research, the skeptical funding committees, and the global conspiracy of silence that had kept this project hidden from both terrestrial and extraterrestrial eyes. The Galactic Empire, which had long dismissed humanity as a primitive species, had no idea what was about to emerge from this mountain facility. The X-Sentinel's core was unlike anything previously conceived. Traditional spacecraft relied on chemical propulsion, predictable energy systems, and linear computational models. This prototype used quantum entanglement for communication, adaptive nanomaterials for instant structural modifications, and an AI system that could learn and predict with unprecedented accuracy. Outside the facility, the world continued its usual rhythm. Politicians argued, economies fluctuated, and most humans remained blissfully unaware that their species was about to make a statement that would echo through galactic history. The mountain facility appeared mundane from satellite imagery, just another military research center, nothing more. Hannah's latest calculation revealed something extraordinary. The X-Sentinel could potentially fold spacetime in ways that current galactic technologies couldn't comprehend. Each computational cycle revealed new potential, faster than light travel, predictive combat strategies, and communication methods that would render current encryption technologies obsolete. "We're ready for the first full systems test," Jun announced, his voice steady, but carrying a hint of anticipation. Years of work had culminated in this moment. Generations of human potential, compressed into a single technological marvel that could change everything. The prototype began to hum. Not a mechanical sound, but something more organic, like a living entity preparing to awaken. Diagnostic screens lit up with cascading data, showing system integrations that seemed to breathe and pulse with an almost sentient rhythm. Underneath the mountain, temperature controls maintained a perfect environment. Specialized cooling systems prevented any potential thermal interference with the delicate quantum systems. Every single component had been designed with multiple redundancies, ensuring that no single point of failure could compromise the entire project. Hannah's algorithms continued processing. The AI was learning, adapting, consuming vast amounts of historical data, military strategies, space exploration records, potential conflict scenarios. It wasn't just collecting information, it was understanding patterns, predicting potential outcomes with a speed that would make traditional supercomputers seem like ancient calculators. The global scientific community would be stunned. Military strategists would be shocked. The Galactic Empire, which had repeatedly ignored and marginalized human potential, was about to receive a message they would never forget. Jun understood the significance. This wasn't just a technological achievement. It was humanity's declaration of technological sovereignty, a statement that would reverberate through star systems, challenging long-held beliefs about human capabilities. As systems continued to integrate, The X-Sentinel seemed to pulse with an inner energy. Its surface shifted subtly, nanomaterials adapting to internal computational requirements. It was alive in a way no previous spacecraft had ever been, a true fusion of artificial intelligence and advanced engineering. The first full systems test was moments away. Everything humanity had learned, dreamed, and imagined was compressed into this singular moment of potential. The forgotten prototype was about to remind the galaxy that humanity was far from insignificant. In the mountain facility, surrounded by layers of security and scientific precision, the X-Sentinel waited, ready to emerge and change everything. The massive Imperial flagship, Sovereign's Might, drifted through the darkness of space with an air of supreme confidence. Commander Taiyang Li stood on the central bridge, his metallic uniform reflecting the soft blue glow of navigation screens. His crew moved with practiced precision, each movement suggesting decades of unchallenged galactic dominance. Star maps displayed Earth's solar system as a minor, unremarkable cluster. Thousands of previous reconnaissance missions had painted humanity as primitive, technologically stagnant, and completely irrelevant to the grand tapestry of galactic civilization. Today's mission was more of a diplomatic show of force than an actual military engagement. "Scan the planetary system," Li ordered, his voice carrying a tone of complete boredom. Junior officers quickly activated advanced scanning equipment, expecting nothing more than basic radio signals and rudimentary satellite technology. What they discovered was unexpected. A small, unusual energy signature emerged from the third planet, Earth. The signature didn't match any known technological pattern in the Imperial database. It was different, strange, almost unpredictable. The scanning technician, a young officer named Kim Woo, double-checked the readings. "Commander," he called, "we're detecting an unidentified craft with quantum energy signatures that don't match our records." Li approached the scanning station, his interest marginally piqued. Quantum technologies were rare, typically reserved for the most advanced civilizations. Humans were not supposed to be on that list. The X-Sentinel appeared on their screens, a sleek, almost invisible craft that seemed to shimmer between different dimensional layers. Its energy output was minimal, yet its structural integrity suggested something far more complex than a simple spacecraft. "Prepare standard engagement protocols," Li commanded. The Imperial fleet would demonstrate its technological superiority, show these humans their proper place in the galactic hierarchy. It would be a quick, decisive demonstration. Little did they know, the X-Sentinel was already analyzing their entire fleet's communication frequencies, shield harmonics, and weapon signatures. While Imperial technicians believed they were preparing an attack, the human prototype was already 10 steps ahead. Weapon systems activated across the Imperial fleet. Massive energy cannons charged, shield generators hummed with power, and targeting systems locked onto the small, seemingly insignificant craft. Commander Li allowed himself a small smile. This would be over in moments. The first wave of Imperial attacks began. Energy beams that could obliterate entire planetary installations surged towards the X-Sentinel. But something strange happened. The human craft didn't just dodge. It seemed to predict each attack milliseconds before it happened. Kim Woo watched in growing confusion. The quantum readings from the human craft were impossible. It was simultaneously existing in multiple potential states, making traditional targeting completely ineffective. "Commander," Wu called again, "the craft is adapting. Our weapons aren't registering as threats." Li's confidence began to crack. This was not following the expected scenario. Humans were supposed to be overwhelmed, terrified, completely outmatched. The X-Sentinel began its response, not with aggressive attacks, but with a series of computational interventions that seemed to infiltrate the Imperial fleet's communication networks. Weapon systems started experiencing unexplained glitches. Shield harmonics began to destabilize. What was meant to be a simple demonstration of Imperial might was quickly transforming into something entirely different. The humans had introduced a variable that the Galactic Empire had never anticipated. unpredictability. As Imperial ships started experiencing systematic failures, Commander Lee realized something fundamental had changed. The universe they understood was about to be rewritten, and humanity, a species they had consistently ignored, was about to deliver that message. The first true battle was just beginning, and nothing would ever be the same again. Retrice, the ex-Sentinel, danced through space with an impossible grace. Wu Choi, seated at the craft's central control system, watched in a state of controlled amazement. His hands moved with surgical precision, but the spacecraft seemed to anticipate his thoughts before he could even complete them. Quantum adaptive algorithms processed potential attack vectors faster than any known galactic technology. Where traditional spacecraft relied on predetermined combat protocols, the ex-Sentinel was learning, evolving, and predicting with each millisecond of engagement. Imperial ships began to experience inexplicable system failures. Shield generators would suddenly collapse. Communication networks would fragment without warning. Weapon systems would redirect their own fire, creating chaos within the Imperial fleet. The prototype's AI was doing something unprecedented. It wasn't just defending, it was understanding. Each Imperial attack became a lesson, processed and integrated into its computational matrix within fractions of a second. The craft was literally learning how to defeat an entire technological civilization in real time. Holographic displays inside the ex-Sentinel showed complex mathematical equations that shifted and transformed continuously. What looked like random data to an untrained eye was actually a living, breathing computational strategy that was dismantling the most advanced fleet in the known galaxy. Wu noticed how the craft's nanomaterial skin would subtly shift, adapting to incoming energy signatures. A plasma cannon blast that should have destroyed the craft would suddenly find its energy dispersed, redirected, essentially neutralized before it could cause any damage. The Imperial Fleet Commander watched in growing horror. His most advanced warships, each capable of destroying entire planetary systems, were being systematically dismantled by a craft that looked no larger than a small interceptor. Communication channels between Imperial ships became filled with confusion. Veteran commanders found themselves unable to comprehend the technological revolution happening before their eyes. Their understanding of warfare, developed over thousands of years, was being completely rewritten by a species they had consistently ignored. The ex-Sentinel's quantum fold drive allowed it to exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. This meant it could be in several locations at once, making traditional targeting completely impossible. Imperial weapon systems would lock onto a position, only to find the craft had already moved, or perhaps had never been there in the first place. Computational speed was the true weapon. While Imperial ships required milliseconds to process and respond, the ex-Sentinel was operating at quantum computational levels that seemed to bend the very rules of physics. It wasn't just fast, it was precognitive. Each Imperial attack became a data point. Each weapon signature was analyzed, understood, and then systematically neutralized. The craft was learning faster than any biological or artificial intelligence had ever learned before. Wu Choi realized they were witnessing something more than a battle. This was a fundamental transformation of technological understanding. Humanity wasn't just defending itself. It was demonstrating a leap in technological evolution that would reshape galactic civilization. The Imperial fleet began to fragment. Some ships attempted retreat, while others continued their futile attacks. But the ex-Sentinel was everywhere and nowhere, a quantum phantom that defied traditional understanding of space, time, and technological capability. Inside the craft, Wu's hands continued their dance across interfaces that seemed to breathe with living intelligence. The AI wasn't just a computer system. It was a living entity that was learning, adapting, and understanding at speeds that defied conventional logic. Quantum entanglement communication meant the ex-Sentinel could process information faster than light could travel. Each moment was an eternity of computational potential, each attack an opportunity to understand and evolve. Commander Lee's flagship was the last to fall. As systems collapsed around him, he realized something fundamental had changed. The universe they understood was being rewritten, and humanity, a species they had consistently ignored, was delivering that message. The decimation was complete. The X-Sentinel had not just defeated an Imperial fleet. It had demonstrated a technological revolution that would reshape galactic civilization forever. As the last Imperial ship exploded, the human prototype turned silently towards Earth, carrying with it the complete destruction of a fleet that had never considered humans a genuine threat. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The galactic communication networks erupted with a single devastating reality. Humanity had destroyed the most powerful Imperial fleet in known history. Thousands of civilizations, long suppressed and controlled by Imperial might, watched the transmission with a mixture of shock and emerging hope. On Earth, Dr. Jun Park and Hannah Kim watched the X-Sentinel's return with quiet satisfaction. The prototype carried more than just battle data. It carried a message that would reshape galactic politics forever. Imperial communication channels buzzed with panic. The quantum transmission showed every detail of the battle, revealing how a supposedly primitive species had developed technology that completely outmatched centuries of Imperial development. Sensor logs, weapon signatures, and computational analyses were broadcast across star systems, leaving no room for denial. Smaller civilizations that had been conquered and controlled for generations began to see a different possibility. If humans could challenge the Imperial fleet, perhaps they could challenge their own oppressors. The destruction of the Imperial ships was more than a military victory. It was a psychological revolution. The X-Sentinel's AI continued processing and broadcasting data. It wasn't just showing the battle. It was revealing the technological methodology that made the victory possible. Quantum adaptive systems, nanomaterial transformations, predictive computational strategies, all laid bare for every civilization to study. Diplomatic channels that had long been controlled by Imperial communication networks began to fragment. Colonies that had been silent for generations started sending independent transmissions. The human victory had created a crack in the Imperial control that would quickly become a massive fracture. Wu Choi piloted the X-Sentinel back to Earth, understanding that this wasn't just a return. This was the beginning of a new era. Humanity was no longer going to be an ignored species in the galactic community. They were now a technological power that demanded respect. Transmission analysis showed that the Imperial fleet's complete destruction would take years to recover from. Not just in military power, but in psychological impact. The myth of Imperial invincibility had been shattered by a species they had consistently underestimated. Other subjugated civilizations began sending encrypted messages of support. They saw in humanity something they had lost: the ability to challenge seemingly insurmountable odds. The X-Sentinel had become more than a spacecraft. It was a symbol of technological rebellion. The prototype's return to Earth was watched by billions. News networks struggled to comprehend the scale of what had happened. A small research project had transformed into humanity's declaration of technological sovereignty.